Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Well, the president has declared a state of emergency on food, security in the land. And I guess just about everybody can understand that. That didn't come as a surprise. Maybe it's even a pleasure that it's being addressed like this, because people have felt that we are really in a pretty bad place when it comes to our food supply and consequent food security. Well, today we're going to be talking with our friend, policy and development, as well as policy development and advocacy expert, Jake Epele. Good morning, Jake, and thank you for making time for us this morning.
Thank you, my very good friend, and one of the best voice in broadcasting. Thank you.
You're far too kind, Jake. Thank you very, very much. Jake, I'm guessing that you must be, quite delighted that the president has declared a state of emergency as it relates to, agriculture.
Yes, I think it's a proactive step, and it's beginning to showcase the leadership quality of the president. And because once a leader feels the pulse of the people and provide a strategic solution to their need, that individual is a great leader. I think it's the right thing to do, and the need that he is focusing on food security, which obviously oftentimes the people that bear the brunt is the most vulnerable and the poor in our society.
We have a package on it. Let's just take that package to refresh our minds, even though it's just between yesterday and today, and then we'll come back and continue on aspects of this policy.
Thank you.
Tinubu says his administration is worried about the clear and present danger to food security in the country. The recent policy of fuel subsidy removal has taken a toll on food prices and now threatens food security. President Bola Tinubu's declaration of a state of emergency on food security seeks to reverse the inflationary cost of food items and ensure affordability.
The president has declared with immediate effect the following actions. 1, a state of emergency on food security. 2, that all matters pertaining to food and water availability and affordability as essential livelihood items be included within the purview of the National Security Council.
The annual inflation rate in Nigeria rose for the 4th consecutive month to a near 18-year high of 22.41% in May this year. These new measures introduced by the Tinubu administration is meant to stop the hike in food prices and possibly force a downward trend.
We shall create and support a national commodity exchange board that will review and continuously assess food prices, as well as maintain strategic food reserve that will be used as price stabilization mechanism for critical grains and other food items.
It seems this time the federal government may be out to find a lasting and sustainable solution to the farmer-herders conflict, which again is a serious threat to food security. President Tinubu's administration says it will adopt ranching as against cattle herding. The president seeks an increased and improved participation of relevant government institutions and stakeholders in the agricultural sector. But he insists the Central Bank of Nigeria will continue to play the lead role in funding the value chain of the agricultural sector that already accounts for 35.21% of employment in Nigeria. This latest government initiative is expected to draw the country closer to achieving Sustainable Development Goal 2, which focuses on ending hunger, achieving food security, improved nutrition, and promoting sustainable agriculture. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
So there you have it in a nutshell. It's a far-ranging plan. And, well, our guest, as I said, Jake Epele, Mr. Kwele is a policy development and advocacy expert. He's spoken about this. He's highly impressed. He said that it says something about the leader itself. But Jake, now looking at aspects of those things, it's like one begins to wonder almost like what were we thinking before? Because I particularly note one aspect of this, which is that year-round farming, that can be done. It's just that it will take a certain measure of effort. But ideas like that, how do they strike you?
Very impressive. Year-round farming is very possible, taking into consideration the greenhouse effect, taking into consideration the technology, what technology can do. Of course, the climate change is pushing us in that direction to think technology and to use technology and mechanized farming and agricultural production. So it's a very laudable initiative. The problem is always in implementation, using the right people to implement many of these fine strategies, ensuring that there is availability of fund because it requires some funding mechanism to push through some of these ideologies. Making sure that the people, the poorest of the poorest, will have access to the dividends of these initiatives are very, very key to successful implementation of these laudable ideas. I pray that the president will look inward and choose the right people who have the right heart to serve and ensure that the people that he is targeting will eventually benefit from this wonderful initiative. If it is not done in such a way that it will be strategically implemented and ensure that the people will benefit from it, then it will be another policy that is on the shelf.
Indeed. And as for how this is going to be financed, one notes that it probably indicates the seriousness with which the president is looking at all of this, because the central bank is going to be at the center of the value chain of this new approach, as it were, a fresh approach to agriculture. Because all of this is going to cost some.
Yeah, it's going to cost a lot of money. And I'm not an advocate for the president going for loan. He has to be careful so that he doesn't make the mistake that his predecessors have made, putting the country into much more debt. I think, and I keep advocating for him to go after those who have stolen our money. The monies are in their account. I know that there is some intrigue negotiation at the background where some of them are being told to, look, return the money and we'll forgive you. That in itself is also fueling this corruption among politicians, because they said, well, anyone that they were able to get from me that I declared. And sometimes the way they negotiate this thing, somebody who has stolen 1 billion, they say, okay, keep 100 million, give us 900 million. At the end of the day, you're promoting corruption indirectly, So I think most of these corrupt politicians, not everybody, corrupt public officers, not everybody, the president should have a means by which Rubado had done a great job in terms of going after these corrupt individuals and getting the money back. I think he has to implement that strategy that he implemented a couple of years ago, and go after individuals and make sure that they get this money and stop borrowing.
Indeed. And well, increasing food production is the main objective, and there are all sorts of aspects to that. As you know, this is an emergency, so we might, probably what we might do now might be a catalyst to where we need to be. And here I'm talking specifically about mechanized agriculture. A lot of our people are agrarian, they're farmers, but I don't know, that whole large-scale thing hasn't been available before. We've tried it, all the machinery became decrepit. This might be an opportunity to now do it right, because there are aspects to this. Irrigation was mentioned, for instance. Irrigation was mentioned. If we're going to be doing year-round farming, irrigation is going to be in there, and that kind of thing. So what are your thoughts on going big? If not immediately, we have to. That's what the experts have been saying anyway, that we have to go beyond subsistence farming.
Well, while we plan for irrigation, which speaks to the northern farmers, which is a laudable idea too, we should also plan for flooding that is also affecting farmers in the south. You know, mechanized farming is a fantastic idea. It's achievable, but we also have to understand that we have a group of local farmers that are not educated enough to implement mechanized farming. So we must also have a strategy to address the needs of the local farmers. The local farmers, those are, and their numbers are far more greater than those educated farmers who are using mechanized method. Again, I'm an advocate for both, you know, but we must also focus on what can we do to help the local farmers. Yes, free fertilizers is one of them. You know, is there any way we can begin to educate them, use those who know better than them to educate them? Is there any way we can begin to ensure that there is a means of transportation to transport what they have produced? Is there any way we can also educate them on how to preserve their seedlings? How will they preserve their seed so that at the end of the harvest season, they can plant that seed to get more harvest in the future? So there's a whole lot of value chain intervention. You know, local farmers must be encouraged. Local farmers must be educated. Local farmers must be helped. Many of them are producing a lot of food, and they have no means of transporting it, moving it from their farm to the market, and moving it from even the local market to a much more urban market. These are challenges, but these are challenges that are not insurmountable. We can solve them if we truly want to solve them. If the president gets the right people, you know, people whose interest is to serve the people, people whose interest is to preserve and ensure that his manifestos are followed through and through, then he will get results. But if he wants to patronize his fellow politicians and give them position without purpose, we will have a problem. It will be like one good idea that has been rolled out, and at the end of the day, nothing is made out of it.
Indeed. At this stage, let me just bring in Bernard. Bernard has called in from Ikorodu. He wants to join the program. Good morning to you, Bernard.
Good morning.
Thank you for calling in. Go right ahead, please.
Yes, please. I would like to appreciate the President, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for even getting to know the mind of minor Nigerians who have suffered for the past 8 years, and now we're having a president who comes to our aid anytime we complain and coming up to see. Sincerely, the democracy now has become like a Champions League where every youth actually look into it, that they want to know what is actually going on, and sincerely it's becoming more interesting every day. Now, I want to come to the population of Nigeria compared to the food production on daily basis. If you look at it, I get this problem of food security actually started from when they actually closed the border. The former president closed the border, and we could, though at some point we felt those rights were not too good for us, but then it actually, to some extent, it has actually helped the minor Nigerians to be able to feed on some certain things compared to what we have. So sincerely,
there's no minor Nigerian. I get your point. The ordinary Nigerian.
Okay,
You mean the ordinary Nigerian?
Sorry, an average Nigerian.
Average Nigerian, okay. Okay.
Who are aiming below the feeding or below their daily consumption.
I understand. Okay.
So that's one. So if they can actually look into this too, whereby food coming into the country, then plus the one we have in the country, then I think it will really, really go a long way.
Okay.
Spending the time that we get things right, then we can now start. Okay, now we want to see how we can now regulate how the food comes in and every other thing.
All right.
Thank
then.
you so much.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for calling in, Bernard. Jake, what do you, this whole idea about consume what you want to eat, and if you can't, produce, I beg your pardon, what you produce, you consume. If you get used to consuming what you don't produce, so it always has to be imported, we all know the result of that. Do you think we could make a focus like that? Like, look, we actually have to now make a strike and really strive to produce as much as possible as what we need, and that which we don't need, that is not important. What are your thoughts on that area? Because our tastes have grown phenomenally, and I don't know if it has all been positive.
Well, I'm just going to say, let me say what's on top of my mind about the president's strategy, which is very effective, but it can also be counterproductive if it's not followed through. The president has started this communication strategy of putting out what they are doing in the public domain, informing Nigerians what they are about to do and all that. They need to be careful in the sense that if you keep rolling out these promises and you don't follow it up with performance,
yes,
you will have a problem. Yeah, because they say promises make relationship, performance keeps that relationship. So I think the same way they are rolling out some of these ideas, they should also roll out when they are getting solution. Communicate solutions you're getting based on the promises you've made. Yeah. I think Alake, my friend, needs to listen to this. But however, like you rightly said, again, I wanted to also comment about the 8,000. Handing over money to people without a purpose will further put them into poverty. So I would prefer a situation where you're saying to families, look, we're going to give you this 8,000. There are people that you will give 8,000 and they will turn around and give you 18,000 in a matter of days, a matter of weeks. So why don't we encourage families to go, even if it's small buying and selling within their the confines of their home, it would be more beneficial. I would say that let's not hand over money to people without a purpose.
Okay. Let's
put a purpose to this. In answer to your question, oh yes, that's the problem. When we are encouraging overconsumption, overproduction, that's what you get. But then this country is rich enough to produce and have surplus and be able to export instead of importing what they consume. I think part of the palliatives or this food security chain intervention should be on educating the masses.
Indeed.
Going out there to educate the people.
Okay.
To look, cut your cloth according to your, cut your coat according to your cloth.
Exactly, yeah. According to your cloth.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't go eating what you cannot afford. Don't live a lifestyle that you can't afford.
One moment, please. I beg your pardon. Abati, Mr. Abati has called in from Agege. Mr. Abati, still there?
Yeah, I'm around.
Okay, good morning. Sorry for keeping you waiting. Please go ahead now.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
And greetings to your guest there.
Yes.
Yesterday, I wanted to call, but I did not have access to you. And today, thank God you are still on Agric. I belong to Agric Group. We have a cooperative farmers association at Ogun State. We started in 2017 through IFAD. I don't know whether you are aware of that body, International Fund for Agric Development.
Okay.
They've been helping farmers, for a very long time, especially in the north. So we always access a lot of farm equipment to them. You know, they will pay for 70% of whatever cost it is. We pay 30%. No, the problem in Nigeria is not about availability of land. We have land in essence, but the fund, you know, to do the real farming is very lacking. The anchor border, a lot of people talk about it yesterday. Other people that are assessing this thing are not farmers at all. Because the youth in particular, they are not having fund at all. We engage, we have about 1,000 hectares of land in Ogun State in two places, one at Ishola and another one at Oba. You don't mind the names. At Oba, we can do farming in dry season, because wet area. The one at Ishola, we can do it in dry area. I mean, the wet season is a dry area.
Okay.
But the problem we have is money. The anchor borrower is not given to, you know, the ordinary people at all. Since 2017 that we said, we were just able to access little funds, not there. And unfortunately, the whole was flooded up.
Okay, I'm afraid I'm going to have to come in. I want to thank you very much. Thank you very much for contributing the idea. I did hear what you were talking about, the difficulties with accessing the anchor borrowers front. To that extent, you know, it hasn't worked for you. But Jake, we have just a little more time. So I wanted to bring another very important aspect of the president's emergency declaration on, you know, on food, and that is that farmers, the problem of a lot of farmers, especially depending on where you are in the country, has been security. Now, he says, the president says that, indeed, no matter how it sounds, the military will be deployed to protect farmlands and farmers. Now, what do you think about that? Because that's a problem with farmers not being able to access their farms because of terrorists and bandits.
Exactly. I think the effect of this food insecurity is also, it's traceable to the insecurity in general that we have in the country. Yes, it's also a very proactive step to ensure that the farmers and the farmland and the environment where they work are properly secured. Otherwise, we'll have a situation where they go to farm and then somebody will pick them up and kidnap them, and that's the end of their life. You know, so there's a need for, you know, a very proactive security measure, not reactive. Let's not wait until they start picking these people up from their farm before we start running around to getting them out. Let's ensure that that doesn't happen. And the more we do that, the more we encourage even new entrants into the farm ecosystem.
Indeed.
I think it's also important to underscore what the last caller said. And that's the fact that the government needs to collaborate with this cooperative society. Some of them are doing excellently well. You know, there has to be some form of collaboration. And I think also as part of this measure, I don't know, and I'm sure it's part of what the president is rolling out, banks needs to encourage to give loans to those they know they can pay back and ensure that there is a recycle of that loan from one either cooperative society or a very well-known to another. But we must also make sure that we don't give loan to people who will turn around and go and buy SUVs and start driving.
Or marry extra wives.
Or marry many wives.
That kind of thing. You know. Thank you very much, Jake.
It's very good.
I just, you know, we just had to start this. We've just taken a stab at it. No doubt we're going to come and talk about this in much more detail as the days go on. But as you said, it's an exciting development from this administration.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jake